to Streaming Wars, the show that pins every streaming service against one another while also helping you, our viewers, decide what to watch and what to skip. I'm Chelsea Schwartz.
I'm Yael Tygiel.
And this week, we're celebrating my birthday.
Yay!
Yay! Happy birthday, me. My favorite genre is comedy, so we thought we would make a special episode about comedy. And one of the things we never really talked about is how many great stand-up comedy specials exist on these platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of people think about Netflix when they think of comedy specials, but Amazon also has a bunch of specials.
Yeah, they do. Especially this year, they've released stuff from Jim Gaffigan and Russell Peters, and there's a ton of just great content coming from everyone. And even HBO Max has some great specials.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the Jimmy O Yang special on Amazon. You know, he is someone that we see and know from movies like, or shows like Silicon Valley and movies like Crazy Rich Asians. So it's really amazing to see him also get to do his own stand-up.
Awesome. Yeah. And to get more specific, if you guys are looking for some great stand-up comedy specials, I just watched Michael McIntyre's Showman on Netflix this week. Just came out in the last week. Belly laughing good.
I also checked out the Ha Festival, the Art of Comedy, over on HBO Max.
I watched that one too.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's 1 hour and it has a bunch of different comedians doing specials. It's a lineup of Latinx talent with appearances from Eva Longoria and Danny Trejo doing little bits in the middle. It was really great.
Yeah, so especially if 1 hour with one comic isn't necessarily your thing, this is a chance to find a new comic too, because they showcased some people for their very first time, their very first national performance, which is really awesome. Additionally, I'm a really big fan of Tom Papa's latest special, You're Doing Great, on Netflix. I especially think they couldn't have known when recording this that in 2020 we would have needed to hear Tom Papa tell us that we're all doing great, but I found the reassurance, even if it is a joke, very soothing.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to a special that's coming out on Tuesday from Michelle Buteau. It's called Welcome to Bootopia. It's on Netflix. Michelle Buteau, you might know as the host of The Circle, but she also has been in a bunch of movies as like the sassy best friend or the funny best friend. So it's great to see her have a special on Netflix.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to checking that out. And speaking of funny people, we'd like to welcome a really funny man who currently can be heard hosting his own talk show. That's right. Paul Rugg, the voice and puppeteer of Ned from Disney Plus Earth to Ned, is here. Hey, Paul.
Hello. How are you?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Good. Excellent.
Awesome. I just want to brag a little bit. Besides being this incredible voice talent, you have some amazing credits. So writing, producing, working on the Animaniacs. Mm-hmm. You worked on Scooby-Doo. So much of my childhood, I feel like you're responsible for.
Well, thank you very much. I hope we didn't damage you too much.
I don't think so. If it's good kind of damage, you know?
All right, good.
All right. So Earth to Ned, tell us about the facts, because Ned looks insane. Huge. How many puppeteers? How tall is he? Is he actually built from the waist down? Can he stand up?
No, he can't. He can't stand up. So he's the first time I saw sort of Brian Henson talked about it. We just had a big weird head made out of foam. So the auditions were you sort of stick your hand in this big foam head and do that, which is nothing even remotely close to how Ned eventually turned out to be, which I'm still kind of annoyed about today. But Ned is about 7 feet tall, and he's built from the waist up. So there are 6 of us that have to do Ned. There's Mick inside, and he's basically Mick is amazing. His job is to sort of try to read my mind and constrained to an axis of movement about 180 degrees. So he's inside and he's got a little monitor. And then in the front is Donna, and she's doing the first 2 hands. And then in back of Donna is Ray and or Jack, and sometimes we had others, and they're doing one hand in the back and one hand in the other. And then sitting next to me at my station is a guy named Alan Troutman, who's like, as far as puppeteering goes, he's like legendary. He was in Babe. He did Dinosaurs. And his responsibility is to do Ned's eyes. And so much of Ned's acting is from Ned's eyes. And then maybe cheek muscles and stuff. And I'm right next door to, right next door, it's like we're neighbors. I'm sort of right next to Alan. And when I move my hand this way, Ned makes an U shape and an E. And I have to tell you something, I'm not like a trained puppeteer. So this was difficult. And so I'm doing the mouth and doing all of the talking. And when we first started auditioning back at the Creature Shop, I was like, there's no way that this is ever gonna work. And then Brian Henson would come in and go, I don't think this is working yet. But after about 3 weeks, well, maybe even sooner than that, I'll be doggone if we didn't all like become one character. And I can't explain the process. I don't know how it happened, but anyway, that's sort of a brief on Ned. And my daughter came to the set and my wife came to the set, and they were shocked that. And by the way, we're not next to each other. Alan's next to me, but then Mick and Donna and Jack and Ray are just like, they're way away from me. So anyway, yeah, that is probably more than you want to know about Ned. But,
oh no, that's exactly what I wanted to know. And that's
good, yeah.
Incredible. It's really amazing. It's like mind melding that has to happen between all of you.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of, well, there was, mostly improv around it. And
it's actually funny because we were literally going to ask how much of it was improv.
Well, we wanted to make sure we stuck to theme. Like every guest had a theme, whether it be, pets, comedy. So they sort of kept track of sort of the themes that they would like Ned to hit. But because I'm not a great multitasker, I had a copy stand sort of to the side, my hand's in here, I'm looking at the monitor there, and sometimes I was lucky to read one or two of these things. But otherwise, we were just flying off the seat of our pants. And that's when I think it became fun. Not that it wasn't fun, but it's pretty intimidating to have Brian Henson standing behind you, going, that's not an O shape. Because he's like the world's best puppeteer. But once we started firing on all cylinders and talking to the guests, it was just really freeform, and it was a blast. It was just great. So
I think I heard somewhere that you guys would, when the guests were present, that you guys would just kind of go off for maybe even like 30 minutes, and just the editors had to find what they liked out of the bits.
Yep. We sort of had to figure that out. I believe our first guest was, we didn't really know what to expect or how to do this. And so, yeah, we would just sort of sit down, and there would be sort of a chart of, general introductions and stuff. But then we discovered Ned probably has his own way to introduce the guest. And sometimes we would go off in crazy directions, and I could hear people in my ear going, what are you people doing? And and now that I watch some of the shows, a lot of that stuff made it in. But sometimes I don't think they were incredibly happy, because we were just goofing off, which was fun.
Sorry, you mentioned that, you have all these themes that you needed to hit with each of the episodes. Yeah. Where would you like to see, what themes do you want to see Ned do in the future?
Boy, you know what? That's such a good question. I don't really know. I think for me, I would love to get to a place where we sort of, we open up the broad topic of humanity and what it's all about. But for me, generally, just let it be and see what happens. But that's sort of my mind. I'm like, I don't really know.
I have to say, personally, I mean, there were some great themes, the horror episode, the musicals, social media, all of it, way too fun. I also immediately had to check to see if Ned actually had a social media account after that, and was surprised that there actually was a Ned from TV account.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have to get. I actually saw the same thing, and we need to make sure he gets more followers because I think he'd probably start getting a little upset about it. But
yeah, it affects people's mental health. It really does.
Yeah.
But I would personally, I would love to see like a Marvel episode. Like the way the Clods have the lightsaber fight. Can you imagine like a superhero moment? Like,
hey, anything is possible. Let's talk about the Clods for a second.
Yeah.
How many Clods? What are their names? I want all of the info on the Clods.
Okay, so so funny when we were practicing in the creature shop, there were all these puppet builders. And there are all these we saw Clods in like little pieces and stuff. So it was like that we would see teeth, but not see anything else. And then when I finally saw them all together, it was amazing. I think, and I could be wrong here, I think there are like 12. I don't know their names because I was so busy over there. But each of them is unique and different looking. There's one that's got, I think my favorite has sort of a smushed face up and it sort of opens up like this. And what's amazing about the Clod, where Ned is sort of like the apex and pinnacle of high technology with, computers and servos and gears. The Clods, it's basically a stick with a finger thing and a little spring that goes like this. And that's what amazes me is like it looks like a thing, but it is pretty much the simplest of technology. So that's the amazing thing about Henson is they really can do anything. So yeah, and hopefully there will be Clods for you to buy on sticks. I don't know.
I don't know if I need it on a stick, but like a Clod plushies, I can build my own Clod army. I would absolutely take.
Yeah, well, then we should talk to people about it because yes, that would be a good thing too.
Definitely. Well, before we let you go, we would love to know your one sentence pitch. If you were going to pitch Earth to Ned to someone else, what is your pitch for why our viewers should watch Earth to Ned?
Oh boy, family. Well, all right. Let me start over. If you want to laugh a lot during these times, then turn on Earth to Ned. It's fun for the whole family, and you never know what you're going to get. And if you want to be surprised, and if you want to look at a 7-foot alien, be confused by humanity, then I suggest you tune in. But just if you want to laugh and forget everything, watch Earth to Ned.
I think that's a great pitch. And also I would like to point out that he's 7 foot from the waist up. So if he stands up, he might be like 14 feet if that was.
Yeah. Maybe if we get more seasons, they'll build animatronic legs that sort of stand up. And
I'm just over 5 foot. I would love to see Ned stand up and have that photograph of like.
That's an interesting thing. Some of the guests that would sit there, they would look up at Ned, and he's so big, and his eyes are sort of so spread apart. They're always like, which eye should I look in? And we were like, just choose an eye and go for it. It's fine.
Amazing. Thank you so much to our incredible guest, Paul Rugg. You can check out Earth to Ned streaming now on Disney+.
Starting off this week on our What to Watch list is Secret Society of Second Born Royals. This is a movie from Disney+. It's a new original. Their original films have been very hit or miss, mainly on the miss side, but I'm going to count this one as a hit.
Yeah, tell me about this one.
So I would describe this as The Kingsman meets Princess Diaries. And while the plot line is really obvious, but most Disney movies are, it's still worth a watch.
Yeah, that sounds actually very much like something I would enjoy.
Totally.
On Netflix, there is, everyone's talking about The Social Dilemma, and I have to say, I get it. I get why we're talking about it. This is a docu-series that also has some dramatization in it. I will say the dramatization is unnecessary. I said docu-series.
It's a one-time film. I was like, so you guys don't have to worry about committing. I was like, but it is going to make you think about everything you do on social media. It's definitely had me reevaluate everything.
Yeah, I am much more aware of what my phone is doing to me.
Absolutely. And my computer even. Today I opened my laptop and there was a new icon and I was like, what are you doing? But stop this. You know, I was like, it is also clearly an ad for the Center for Humane Technology, but I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
Yeah, I will just say stay through the credits because that's where they give you the advice as to what you can do.
And why that wasn't more focused in the thing. Like halfway through the film, I was like, what can I do? What can I do? You know? So definitely sit through the credits on that one on Netflix. Speaking of Netflix, just dropped on Thursday, which was actually my birthday. I count it as my gift from Netflix. The Chef Show Volume 4. Now, I'm going to be completely honest. When we filmed this had not dropped and I had not seen it yet. I am just a huge fan of Jon Favreau and Chef Roy Choi and the 3 volumes of the Chef Show that they've already put out, which means I know I'm going to love this one. So there's more Chef Show. And if you haven't watched the Chef Show yet, it's not your average cooking show. Jon Favreau brings in like the Marvel universe to come in and talk about while they're casually cooking. And the way Roy Choi explains cooking makes me feel like me, who is helpless, could actually cook.
That sounds fabulous. I love a cooking show that is not your average cooking show. Because when I think about Food Network, it just makes me sad.
There is that. I was like, and speaking back to Disney Plus, they also just dropped The Magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom. It's yes, again, another docuseries, but this time one totally worth watching, especially if you're a fan of the Disney parks. This is making me want to go back to Walt Disney World right now, just to visit Animal Kingdom, to go on the safari, to be like, I saw that elephant on TV. I know that elephant's name. You know, like it made the animals in the park celebrities in the coolest way.
Yeah, I am an animal lover, so definitely going to check that one out. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what is worth skipping this week?
Well, I'm also going back to Disney Plus and another docuseries, Becoming.
Yeah.
I was seriously disturbed watching the first episode. Like it did not sit with me well.
It feels like they want to do an E! True Hollywood story, but they're Disney, and so they can't take it dark, or B, really hurt anyone's name.
Yeah, I was like, so that they start to scratch a surface and then completely skip over it. But it's also, they're short episodes. They're like 24 minutes on one person. And it's no time to really get into what's going on with that person. So just as you're starting to get somewhere interesting, the episode's over. I think this could have been executed better.
Shall we head it into headlines?
Absolutely. And our biggest headlines of the week are that the Emmys just happened.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love that the streaming services were included. So many of them. Let's talk about the numbers.
Yeah, I was like, so this year we had 5 streaming services that were eligible to compete. We are not including HBO Max in that, even though HBO did come away with the most awards from the Emmys. Just because they just launched at the end of May, I'm not including them in that thought process for this year. But with that said, Netflix took away 21 out of their 160 nominations. Whoa. That's crazy.
I believe 160 nominations is the new record.
Yes, I believe so as well. I was like, and then after Netflix, Disney Plus took home 8 awards for The Mandalorian, which was amazing. Prime Video took 4, Apple TV Plus took 2, and Hulu even had an award. So streaming services coming hard on the awards game.
Yes. Let's talk about some excitement that came out of Disney this week. Disney Plus released during the Emmys the WandaVision trailer. We should do reaction because I lost my mind about this.
First of all, I have been dying for MCU content for over a year now. We were supposed to have Black Widow already, and then 2020 happened. So getting this trailer was the most exciting thing for my nerd heart that I could have possibly had. And like you would have thought that had been completed with the Mandalorian trailer, but Marvel is way more my heart.
Also, this trailer, answered a lot of questions about what everyone was wondering as to how this all was going to fit in. And the trailer went, don't worry, we got you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Moving on to some HBO Max news. Raised by Wolves was renewed for a second season, which is awesome.
That's right.
And if you haven't watched the show yet or you want more information, why don't you go back? We interviewed a couple of the principal cast members just a couple weeks ago, right here on Streaming Wars.
Yes. HBO Max also renewed Harley Quinn for season 3. That's right. It's moving from the DC Universe platform, which is no longer a thing, to HBO Max for season 3. I cannot wait for more of this animated series. If you haven't watched it, binge it now. You're going to love it.
And speaking of DC, HBO Max also just announced that Peacemaker as a series is coming to HBO Max.
Yes, this is John Cena in his character from The Suicide Squad, the new Suicide Squad sequel that's coming out. It's going to be extending that universe, which is very exciting. And James Gunn is involved.
Yeah, he is writing all of the episodes. I believe there's 8 coming. And he's directing multiple episodes, including the first one. And the series is set to start filming and it'll be full production before James Gunn starts working on the new Guardians of the Galaxy film. So big year next year for DC and Marvel. Mm-hmm. Speaking of other nerdy things, Netflix. You knew we were going to get there eventually. There's always news. Netflix won an Emmy for The Dark Crystal: Age of the Resistance, and then followed that news with canceling the show.
Yeah, it's such a shock. I don't know what they're thinking.
But at least for those of you that were a fan of Dark Crystal, past and present, Lisa Henson has said that they know that this story wants to be continued, that the fans want more, and they are going to look for a medium to do it, whether that's a book or a comic or maybe they move the show to Amazon. Amazon's got money to do Dark Crystal. Hi, Amazon. Who knows? We'll see.
Yes. Speaking of what are they thinking, Peacock finally seems to be thinking something reasonable. And they are now on Roku. Welcome, Peacock. Welcome to 2020.
That was a challenge for them. There was this whole NBC's going to pull every NBC app off of Roku. And then finally Roku was like, okay, we'll include Peacock. And now it's officially available. It happened over the weekend. So if you've been waiting for Peacock, it is now, and you only had a Roku, go and download Peacock.
Yep. And that is our show. Thank you again to our wonderfully talented guest, Paul Rugg from Earth to Ned. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to that hashtag show for more Streaming Wars, and we'll see you next week.
Until then, bye-bye.